Disclaimer: this story is purely fictional and made for entertainment only. The characters don't represent any real idol. Script and voiceover are original. Please avoid hate comments. Every FF takes time and effort. Watch till the end. Comment your favorite moment.
The smile she gave another. She didn't touch him, but the way she looked at someone else, it felt worse than betrayal. Scene: a high-class mafia gala, late night, velvet, crystal and danger. The room was a blur of voices and violence, wine and whispered lies, but he didn't hear any of it. Cook stood in the shadows of the towering archway, his back to the world, his eyes on only one thing: her. Your name, his wife, his weakness, his war, his obsession, and right now she was looking at another man. He watched her, not with casual curiosity, no. He watched her like hunger itself. His stare was sharp, deep, almost indecent in the way it traveled across the room. Every man here feared him, and yet he stood there completely still, utterly possessed by a woman who hadn't looked at him once. She was dressed in a body-hugging black satin gown that caught the candlelight like water over obsidian. The fabric clung to her hips and wrapped off her shoulders like it had been sweet frozen. Her throat bare collarbone exposed, a smooth invitation with cruel lock. Her lips were painted in dark cherry red, the kind that mocked restraint. She tilted her head slightly, laughing softly at something the man beside her said, not flirtatiously, not even sweetly, but she smiled, and her eyes glimmered, and it was still for him. The eyes that once searched for him in every room were now deliberately avoiding him. Cook didn't move, but his eyes traced her like ants might have, dragging over the slope of her neck, passing where her chest rose and fell slowly. His teeth clenched, his claw fingers flexed at his side. He could feel her even from across the ballroom, that invisible string pulling, taunting. She knew he was watching. She wanted him to. She always knew how to undo him, and she did it now, not with touch, not with words, with silence and a sidelong glance that barely missed him. She turned slightly, not toward him, but just enough to make him wonder if she meant to. His breath was slow, controlled, but his eyes violent, obsessed. He watched the man speak again. Your name, answered softly, eyes half-lidded, voice too low to hear. She smiled again, that same smile that once belonged to him, that same smirk she used to wear after pinning him with her gaze before walking away, leaving him burned behind her. She hadn't even touched a wine, but he was strung from every inch of it already. She tilted her head, the gesture gave, grateful, confident, caused a strand of hair to fall across her cheek, and for a brief second, her eyes flicked up, they met his from across the room and held. One glance, that's all it took. The room dissolved. There was only her stare and the slow poison of it. Cook didn't blink, neither did she. She let her gaze fall deliberately slow, trailing down his chest over the black shirt he wore, unbuttoned just enough to reach the edge of the tattoo, then up again. Not shy, not ashamed, she was taunting him. You don't touch me, so why should I belong to you? That was what her stare whispered, and his reply, you do, even when you pretend not to. They spoke with their eyes, and every word was laced with heat and unsettling. She finally turned away gracefully. She didn't rush, didn't stumble, just walked across the ballroom, her hips moving like they knew they were watched. They are being watched, and punished him for it. She disappeared behind the corridor. Cook finally exhaled, jaw tight. Boss, his guard whispered behind him. Do you want me to? No. His voice was so dangerous, like thunder rolling in a bottle. Don't touch her. Don't touch him. He stared into the dark corridor she vanished into. She smiled. I will deal with her myself. She didn't need to be touched to destroy him. She only had to walk away. He waited exactly 30 seconds, and then he followed. Not rushed, not loud, just enough to make the air shift behind him. The corridor was quieter, longer shadows, fewer witnesses. She was waiting. She stood there, spine straight, one hand resting on the cool stone wall. She didn't turn, but she spoke first. You followed me. He stepped closer, voice low, gravel, laced with heat. Didn't give me a choice. She glanced over her shoulder finally, eyes locked. The tension between them was thick enough to choke on, and all without a single touch. You didn't like that, I smiled at someone else. His voice was 𝗪𝗲𝗹𝗆. I didn't like that. He made you smile. She sniffed. Then maybe you should have reminded me what it feels like to be looked at like an atom. She didn't push him, she didn't beg, she simply reminded him how it feels to edge. Cook didn't move forward, but his voice dipped into something more dangerous. You walk around dressed like 𝗵𝗵𝗶𝗃 and expect me to stay quiet when you act. Just smiled to another man. She raised a brow, calm and clear. Maybe I'm just reminding you what it feels like to own it. And with that, she walked away, not touching, but leaving a wound that felt deeper than bullets. The wall has teeth. He never touched her, but tonight even distance burned like smoke. Dim hallway behind the ballroom, stone walls, flickering candlelight, shadows like secrets. She didn't run, she stood there just a few steps from the ballroom kiosk, bathed in soft flickering light back to the stone wall, as if she did know he followed. He did follow. Of course he did, because when she walked away, he burned. Cook stepped into the hall like a storm that had no need to thunder. He was the thunder, he was the warning. His black silk shirt clung to him like his night herself, one hand in his pocket, the other at his side, fingers twitching with restraint, hair tossed from where he had dragged her, hand through it after watching her walk away, his jaw tight, his stare unforgiving, her lips curved, slightly knowing. She smiled like she had just won a war, but he hadn't even started fighting yet. Problem? She asked, voice like a still lake over fire. He said nothing, just walked forward slow, patient level until a back brushed the wall. Still no touch, but his body catched her like a man who wanted to destroy everything between them. Their breath met before they did. His eyes didn't just meet hers, they devoured. She didn't flinch, and that made him burn me. You played with me tonight, he said, voice low, gravel wrapped in silk. That wasn't a smile for politeness, that was punishment. Your name lashes fluttered once, then she tilted her chin slightly higher. I smiled, she murmured, because he made an eye contact like mine, not a ghost in the corner of the room. Cook's brow twitched, he leaned in, still no touch, but his voice slid between her ribs like a blade. I'm the ghost you put chains on. He hissed. You think I don't see what you're doing? Her voice was calm. Tell me. You dress like warning? He rasped. But you walk like an invitation? You want me to lose control. A fast breath held, she sniffed. Then why haven't you? His hand slammed against the wall beside her head. The wall took the hit because her skin still belonged to no one. Because I like the way you look at me when I don't touch you, he whispered, like you are the only one in control. Your pupils flat, she inhaled sharp and quiet. He stepped closer, barely inches away. His voice was lower, darker. But you are not in control. You just think you are. She didn't move, didn't back down, but her breath wavered just for a second. He saw it and it wrecked him. Every inch between them was agony, but neither of them blinked. She finally spoke the breath, broke the silence. Is this what you do? Who? Corner me because you're scared of the way I don't need your attention? He laughed once, dark, low, humorless. I'm not scared, he said. I'm starving. Silence. And you keep feeding everyone else crumbs, he added, but starving. Their eyes locked. That was the moment. That one moment where she almost felt her. Her throat moved, she swallowed. He saw it, the flicker. The moment where confidence nearly turned to surrender. Cook lowered his voice to barely a bit. I will touch you one day, he said. Not tonight, not until we beg for it. She stared back and smiled. Then you will be waiting a long time. I already have. Not all obsessions scream, some whispers and kill sweat. Walking in silence towards the car, stone steps echoing with tension. Neither of them said a word. Her heels clicked in slow rhythm, his boot matched behind. He opened the door for her without a word. She got in leather mid-silk. Still no touch but the space between them in the car, it screamed. He got in, slammed the door and gripped the steering wheel like it was a thought. The engine brought to life, but he didn't move, not yet, just sat there. Just sat there, breathing. His voice finally broke the silence. I know you are doing this on purpose.
She didn't answer, just stared out the window. Calm, collected, queen-like. His jaw tensed, his thigh bounced. She was driving him mad and she wasn't even looking at him. You smiled at him, he said again. You're still talking about it? She murmured. He turned his head sharply, stared at her like she was the fire. I'm not like other men. Good, she replied, because no one else obsesses like you. Then that shut him up, but only for a second. Then he leaned over close, his breath hit her. Not a touch, not even a grace, but her body still reacted. You don't understand, he crawled. What I'm holding back from you, she whispered. Then you don't hold back. The red light turned green. He stepped on the gas. This wasn't desire. This was what? Discussed as soon as. Shadows beneath her. The silence in the car wasn't calm. It was loaded, simmering, dangerous. Your name sat quietly in the passenger seat, her chest rising and falling in uneven rhythm. The air was sharp with unspoken words, thick with tension that pulsed between them like a storm waiting to crack the sky. Cook's jaw was tight, one hand gripping the steering wheel to the other clenched near the gear, veins rigid beneath his skin. The street lights flashed across his sharp profile, eyes dark, unreadable but sleeping. He hadn't said a word since they walked out of the party, not when she offered him the smallest smile, not when she tried to explain, not even when she shivered under the weight of his silence. But she could feel it, his eyes burned holes into her, and every second that passed without his voice only made her chest edge more. Until the car suddenly screeched to a stop, under the thick veil of shadows, far from the city, far from the curious eyes. Before she could even react, Cook unbuckled and moved. Her breath itched as the passenger door flew open in one shift. Silent moment, he yanked it open and reached for her. His hand didn't touch her but hovered, just above her waist. Out, he said, voice grave and gravely. Backseat, she blinked. Cook? Now, the command in his voice, raw and dangerous, sent a thrill through her spine, but her pride wouldn't let her flinch. Still, something in his eyes made her obey. She stepped out slowly. The cool night air kissed over her exposed skin through the slit in her silk gown. She turned, and before she could even speak, he was already there. He crowded her back into the car, gently yet firmly. The door clicked shut behind them, blocking out the world. Her back hit the leather seat as his arm raised the window behind her, and in that trapped breath between them, everything unreal. His forehead touched hers, not kissing, not touching, just breathing her like she was the only oxygen he ever knew. You think I don't notice? He whispered, so low it brushed her lips. He was smiling at him. I wasn't. You smiled, Angel, not like that with me. Her lips parted, but nothing came out. Her hands balled into fist into her lap. She wasn't wrong, but it wasn't what he thought. She wanted to scream that at him, but his breath was already dancing down her cheek, trailing the line of her jaw without even making contact. I've been quite too long, he murmured, eyes locked on her mouth. Do you know what it does to me? Watching you belong to me but act like you don't feel it? Her heart pounded. She didn't know, dare to know. Every inch between them was molten tension, slow burning, etching close, but never enough. And then he kissed her, heart desperate, the kind of kiss that doesn't ask, it climbs. She gasped against his mouth, stunned with urgency, the way he devoured her breath as if he waited 100 lifetimes. His hand never wandered far, still braced on the seat, holding back everything he truly wanted to do. Her fingers gripped his shirt. And then his hand moved, not drooping, not forcing, but sliding down the line of his silk-covered thigh, just enough to make her pulse jump violently, still respectful, still restrained, but absolutely intoxicate. Her gown slipped slightly under his touch, revealing more of her thigh as he traced the outline with a possessive whisper of fingers. You wear this one for me? He breathed against the mouth, lips brushing but not kissing again. She didn't answer, couldn't. Her thoughts were drowned beneath the heat of his presence and the haunting low of his voice that was already unraveling her within. He didn't push her, he just watched her body tremble not from fear but from restraint. And then he pulled away slowly, leaving her lips tingled, her breath, her skin burning, and her pride shattered. He stepped out of the car first, his dark figure towering as he opened the door once again. This time his voice was calm, hollow.
Get in front. We are not done. And just like that, he returned to the driver's seat, gripping the wheel like the man trying to gauge the monster inside him. Your name sat frozen for a moment in the background, slipping, pulse racing, lips bruised from the kiss, but still wanting more. She moved back into the transient heart crashing inside a ribcage, and the engine started again, but the storm hadn't passed. It was only beginning. The storm into the night. The car's engine had barely gone silent before Coop flung open his door, stepping into the moon-drenched street like a man on the edge of ruin. His jaw clenched, his breath sharp. That silent storm was no longer quiet. It crackled in his ear. Your name, as Bradley barely unbuckled a seatbelt when his door slammed. She turned and there he was, already at her side, eyes dark, lips parted, chest heavy. Coop. Her voice was sharp, but it didn't matter. He yanked a door open, hands curling around the wrist, not hurting but not asking anything. You think I didn't see it? He rasped. That smile, the way you looked at it. He didn't wait. In one swift motion, he pulled her out of the car. Her heels scratched the pavement, still found shifting with a night breeze. But before she could even speak again, he shoved her back, pinning her frame against the side of the car, forearm braced beside her head, his body a cage of pure heat. She met his glare with fire of her own. I didn't do anything, she snapped, her voice calm but still steel-edged. You didn't have to, he crawled, breath coasting over her cheek. You smiled like he owned it, like I didn't. Her chest rose with every sharp breath. The wind rustled the hem of her gown, cool hair teasing her thighs, but it was nothing compared to the firestorm of his cat. Cook leaned in closer, his face inches from her, lips brushing her hair, not skin. But you do, he gasped. He whispered slow, you do belong to me. I'm not your possession, he snorted with an cruel smile twisted his lips. You're not, he murmured. Then why are you trembling right now? She didn't flinch, didn't look away, because she wasn't trembling from fear. It was worry from the audacity, from how he thought that he could command the air she breathed, from how her body responded to his storm, even when her mind screamed rebel. Still she stood tall, breath mingling with his, lips nearly brushing but never touching. Every second stretched, slow, tense, drawn out like a sting about to snap. I can walk away too, she said, voice steady, right now. His eyes traced her face like fire dragging across skin, but you won't. The silence between them turned electric, then without warning, he crawled, a sound deep from his chest, and hoisted her up, strong arms circling her waist like a Coop, she gasped, palms slamming against his back. But he didn't stop. He threw her over his shoulders, silk fabric slipping dangerously high, her hair brushing his back, and stalked towards the mansion black double doors. You are mine, he muttered darkly. You don't get to smile at other men, not while I'm still breathing. She put me down this side. But he only smirked, one hand tracing a bare thigh lazily as he walked. You want me to stop? He taunted. Then say it. She didn't, because her breath was caught in her throat, because she hated him for not thunder, because the heat between them wasn't just anger, it was something much worse. It was desire wrapped in chains, obsession painted in shadows, and he knew it. He always knew. He kicked the door open with one foot, carrying her like a king reclaiming his stolen throne. Tonight there would be no escape from his storm, and no mercy from the fire reignited in her blood. Owned by his shadows. The heavy double doors slammed shut behind them. The world outside vanished, only silence remained thick like smoke, except for the breathing, earth uneven, his breath. Cook's boot echoed on the marble floor as he walked through stalked through the darkened hallway. She still thrown over his shoulder like she weighted nothing, her fist pounding lightly against his back, not in fear but resistance. She was never one to break easily. You are insane, she hissed, voice muffled by the position. You can just carry me life. I can. He cut her off, voice low and short. And I will. He reached the end of the hall and shoved open the black double doors of private room. Only he entered. One no one else dared to touch. The room was cool, dimly lit, velvet shadows danced on the walls from the flickering candle on the dresser. No softness lived here, only sharp lines, dark woods, and the haunting scent of it. He dropped her gently on the bed, but the didn't soften. His hands never fully left her, fingertip brushing over the silk of her gown as she scrambled upright. She sat back, falling wild around her flushed face, just rising with every stolen breath. Her eyes glared up at him, but her lips trembled with unspoken confusion. What is wrong with you? She breathed. I smiled at him at that. Cook stood at the edge of the bed, shirt unbuttoned with the top jaw flexing. The storm in his gaze hadn't passed, it had only shifted, simmering under the surface like a volcano waiting for permission to erupt. That smile, he murmured, taking one step closer, did more damage than a bullet ever could. She flinched slightly, more from the stun than the words. That voice so quiet yet it wrapped around her like a rope. She could feel it in her pulse, in her breath. I have killed men, he said, dark fingers slowly rolling up his sleeves, for looking at words mine the wrong way. I'm not your spook. He froze, his jaw tightened, and then he laughed. Not loud, not amused. It was bitter. You married me, don't you? That marriage was forced, you know that. He stepped closer, and yet here you are, still here. I had no choice, she whispered, standing now, gown falling softly to her ankles. You have choices now. His words hung in the air. She stared at him, really stared. The cold mocking who ruled cities, the man feared by many. And yet tonight, he looked like a man begging to be understood, but too brutal to ask. You could leave, he said, voice nearly breaking. Walk out, run, scream, call for help. She didn't. Her silence was a knife in his chest. Cook's fingers moved, tracing the air between them, not touching but etching too. His step was so close that her breath caught her back, almost meeting the wall. But you won't, he whispered, eyes falling to her lips, because deep down, you feel this too. Her fist curled. She hated how her skin found when he was near. Hated how his thin dark spies and danger wrapped down her like a truck. Say it, he crawled. Say you don't want me. He opened her mouth and stopped because the lie wouldn't come. Because despite everything, despite the manners, the chaos, the ruined promises, her heart beat loudest and rooms he entered. He stepped forward again, too close now. His hand reached for her waist slowly like he was afraid she would vanish. She didn't move his thumb brushed the silk off her side, trailing just under the curve of her lips, and she gasped. Because the touch was lightning and thunder softens in a hit, she whispered. He smiled darkly. No, he hate that. He cupped her face gentle now, a contrast to his throne. His thumb brushed over her cheek, eyes softening, but the hunger never left. I won't be gentle, he warned, watched him then. Not when you smile like that at someone else again. She looked up into his eyes, those obscene depths laced with pain, love, violence, and something twistedly beautiful. I wouldn't want you to, she whispered back. He froze, stared, and then the dam broke. He kissed her, not soft, not slow, cut her like a man starved devoured the air between them. Her hands flew to his chest, not to push him away, but to pull him closer. The world blurred, the kiss deepened, yet even now there was resistance, because between love and destruction they danced. Two flames tangled in shadows, and the night was only just beginning. His breath was fire against her neck, his body caging us as her back pressed to the cold 𝗷𝗲𝗹𝗆 wall outside the penthouse. His voice was nothing but a crawl, now low, guttural, deep, grazing the skin like a wall. You pushed me again, he rasped, and I swear I won't stop this time. She met his eyes, piercing, and she did. Then maybe you should learn to lose. He exhaled, rough animal on the edge, his fingers curled beside her head. Jaw clenched like he was trying to stop himself from tasting her again. Then a soft, deliberate clap echoed down the hall. They broke free. Slow footsteps approached the boots tapping slow like a countdown. You always were dramatic, but calm, amused voice sliced through the air. Cook turned every muscle in his body, turning to stone. Tate stood at the end of the alley, dressed in black. Hands in his coat pockets, eyes locked onto her, not his breath. And it was the smirk on his face that did the most damage. That dress doesn't suit her, Cook. They said smoothly, but I think her rebellion might. Her breath caught. Cook's body shifted forward, possessive, lethal, and silent. She could feel it. The storm was no longer between them. It was coming, and this time it would burn everything.